So last week's video was probably the most well-received video I've ever made on any account, and I appreciate everyone that watched it and subscribed or left a comment to discuss the project. But unfortunately, I do not have a happy ending to follow up with. So the Xbox's files are structured quite differently from the PC. The PC has the root folder with an HL2 subfolder that contains the VPK packages with all the materials in it. The Xbox version's root contains two XBE files, which are Xbox executables and the equivalent of HL2.exe on PC. Then it contains the loader media and game media subfolders. Loader media contains mostly video files of the attract screen and the valve splash that plays when you open up the game. And it also contains a very interesting text file. It seems to say something about installing something to the console's reserved Z partition. Game media contains the maps folder, which we used in the last video, the sound folder, which contains music and wave files, and then a bunch of .xz_ files. The .xz_ files are Xbox archives and seem to function in the same way as Valve VPKs. After trying the obvious solution and just putting the .xz files into the root folder to verify that it would not work, I needed a way to extract the files in the .xz to a readable PC format. Thanks to the Gold Source and Source multi-tool, or GSSMT for short, I was able to extract these .xz files into .xzps, which are Xbox zips, and then extract those files from those zips with GCFscape into just plain files. So great, now I have the raw materials used in Half-Life 2 Xbox. I can just drop these in my materials folder, and that's where I hit a wall. In the middle of trying to figure out what I was going to do with these files, I realized that simply replacing the existing PC textures with the Xbox versions will not cut it, because if that was going to work, then the textures would have worked in the first place and just been the higher resolution PC textures instead. This did not stop me from trying that. I copied the entire contents of the directory to the root and of the old engine mod, which made it crash. So okay, no big deal, I reinstalled and I tried just the materials folder. This time it didn't crash, but the materials remain broken. I hypothesize that this is because the old engine mod does not pull resources from its own folder. It uses the Source SDK 2006 folder, same way that Hammer does. I think most of my problems with getting the game to even use the materials stemmed from it being a source mod and not a standalone install from HL2 4044, because the source mod depends on materials from the Source SDK base. For the life of me, though, I can't figure out where I should put these materials. And that wouldn't even solve the problem because it would only be replacing the files that already view fine the old maps. It would not be fixing the missing ones. At this point, I've reached a conclusion about which makes sense to me. The parts of the map that are missing textures are pointed at the root folder, game media, zip0, Xbox, xz_. So great. PCs can't read these files, even if I put a game media folder in the root directory and put the archive there, because the PC looks for VPKs. I tried putting the XZ in a custom folder titled Game Media and putting a game info text in the HL2 folder at the Source SDK base, and that didn't work, nor recreating the same setup in the HL2OE mod. So there are two ways forward with this project. Either I need to find a way for the old engine HL2 on PC to load XZ files, which is incredibly unlikely, or someone needs to modify the maps to look for the textures in a different place, which someone with more Hammer knowledge than I could probably do, but I'm going to try and learn it, and if you know how to do it, please do it. I will provide you all the files I've worked on so far. I will give you the unpacked files, I'll give you the game files, I'll give you everything you need. You just have to use your own copy of Half-Life 2 because I want to stay legal with it. One interesting thing I did try just for fun was to create a custom folder in the regular New Engine Half-Life 2 folder, and put the files from the XZP in it just to see what would happen. After a few crashes, I discovered that attempting to load the models folder will break the game and crash it before you can even reach the menu. But once I loaded just the materials folder, it worked, and there is a difference in how some of the game reacts to light. So, in the tunnels in one of the coast maps, the undersides of the trucks were shinier. But when I went outside in coast, everything went haywire. I'm sure with some tweaks I could fix it, but it's not running an old engine, so I really can't be bothered. What that does suggest to me, though, is that you might be able to get the materials working if you have a self-contained version of non-Steam Half-Life 2 running in the old engine. But you'll likely still run into the issue of the maps having the textures pointed at an unusable archive, assuming that's actually the issue, and so half the materials still aren't going to work. At the suggestion of a friend, I tried to upload the PC maps on Xbox, and here's what happened. So, all was going well. I launched the game, I started a new game from train station, and the G-Man intro played, which did not happen on PC, probably due to the mod being used for speedrunning, if I had to take a guess. But yeah, the intro loaded, and in the Half-Life 1 section where it shows the chamber, some of the textures are missing. No biggie, it's fine. And then when it came time for G-Man to go away and for me to start playing the game, G-Man just kind of stood there. The game would not make that transition where it flashes white and G-Man's gone and you have control of your character. G-Man just stood there and went through idle animations. So that was clearly broken. I had to click back to the menu and start again, a different level. I elected to start from Root Canal, and Root Canal, it's the same. It's got the same bug as on PC where Matt Fulbright is on, and it's stuck there and you can't do anything about it. So the game is very ugly now. In Root Canal, it managed to run worse, which is probably because that map is split up. What else? For the most part, the combat's fine. The combat is completely original, and none of the scripting is lost, just like on PC. However, ladders don't work, so Canals 01 is impassable. You cannot play Canals 01 on Xbox with a PC map because you cannot get up the ladder. Unless you have some other sort of trick to get up. You could use a prop probably, but yeah, can't do that. So, I started up with Coast next. I started up with Highway 17 in the menu, which loads Coast 01, and you load Coast 01 and go out, and I'm used to, just kind of not taking the car, because I like to bunny hop, and I just figured, I'm gonna go without the car. So I jumped down, realized that I can't fucking bunny hop with the controller, and go back up, and realize I need to use the ladder to climb back up and get the car. So I let the Lion's Mercy kill me, and respawned, and got the car. Went through the cutscene where she picks you up with the magnet breaks and she drops you and says, "Sorry, Doc." And then discovered not only do ladders not work, the floor in Coast does not work for anything other than the player and PCs. Props fall through it, which I learned trying to kill myself with a grenade. I figured that's a great, it could have been a glitch, Yeah, ragdolls of dead antlions fell through the floor, as did the Jeep, and subsequently me in the Jeep. So I fell through the floor, I was underneath Coast, so that doesn't work. Loaded SANDTRAPS, which is something I think Coast 08 is where it starts you. It ran fine, for the most part. Some frame drops, and the game is definitely uglier now, but it ran fine. I continued through, and I think that the load points from the Xbox version still work to load the fragmented maps, because unless I'm misremembering, there is no load point for the end of that map in the PC version. I do believe you just continue on to the checkpoint. Yeah, actually I know for a fact you do, because I remember I used to bunny hop, or ABH, through that entire tunnel straight through the camp on the new engine version, so I do know that there is no loading screen there. There is still a loading screen on Xbox, even with the new maps. So that tells me that there's still triggers built into the game somehow. I could probably rectify this by removing the map and see what happens. I don't know. If I remove the map, it's either going to A, continue playing on the unsegmented map and not load, or B, it's going to attempt to load the map, realize it's not there, and crash. So I don't know what would happen there. Now that I know that it will load maps from the PC version, I'm kind of want to go find a copy of Counter-Strike Source from Old Engine and see if I can load a map. I would have to rename it to a map that one of the chapters starts with, since I can't actually load maps at will on Xbox, unless there's a way to open the console I don't know of. But, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed this little side project of mine. I'm actually in the early stages of trying to do something similar for the Xbox version of Counter-Strike. I really appreciate the great reception I got in my last Half-Life video, and it makes me glad to see people whose content I really actually enjoy reached out in the comments and complimented the video. And in the end, I'm just trying to make some of the sort of content that I already watch in my free time, just about new topics and with my own spin. I'd like to give a shout out to the great people in the Half-Life Discord, specifically the Guardian, who helped me a lot with the hammer and the custom folder concept. And shout out to Bitrain for the email guidance that set me on this track in the first place, as well as for making the old engine mod in the first place, and also for being a great speedrunner whose videos I enjoy. Guys, I just thank you so much for the support in the last video, and stay tuned for similar content, and I hope you all enjoy your days, really.